Hello. Today I'd like to explore Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, or DHCP. DHCP is a protocol for networking. The DHCP server will automatically assign each device on the network an IP address from a pool of addresses called the scope. Every device on a network must use an IP address for communication. The network admin can either assign each device on the network an IP address, considered to be a static IP, or can choose to use DHCP, which will automatically assign each device an IP address, considered to be dynamic IP. Let's take a look at a static IP address. A static IP address is a fixed address and cannot be changed unless it is manually changed. It is user-defined by the network admin. To assign the IP address, the network admin will open up the TCP/IP properties and select Use the following IP address, which they have input as 192.168.1.159. Also, when you manually assign the IP address, you must define the subnet and the default gateway. Once you click on OK, the client will communicate with the server to authenticate the IP. As long as no other device on the network has the same IP address, the client will be connected to the rest of the network. Let's now take a look at dynamic IP. Dynamic IP is automatically assigned by the DHCP server and can be changed based upon the needs of the network. The network admin will open up the TCP/IP and select Obtain an IP address automatically, and by doing so, the client will communicate with the DHCP server to make a request for an available IP from the scope. The scope is a range of available IP addresses that the network admin can define. As you can see here, the starting IP address is 192.168.0.2, and the ending IP address is 192.168.0.254. This means that the network is capable of issuing 253 IP addresses. For our example, the IP address that the DHCP issued to our client is 192.168.0.15. Now the client is connected to the network. Now that the client is using DHCP, the IP address is leased, which means the DHCP sets a time limit on how long the client can utilize that specific IP address. This is how DHCP can control the IP pool for available addresses. The client will send a request to the DHCP asking for a renewal of its lease, basically saying, hey, I'm still using this IP and like to continue to use it. The DHCP will renew the lease for the allotted time. If the client does not ask for a renewal, the lease will expire, and the IP address will return to the pool of available IP addresses. Once again, dynamic IP, the client is off the network now, so the time has elapsed. DHCP is sending to the client, which isn't there, hey, are you still there? No response from the client, so the IP address goes back into the pool of available addresses. So this way, it can be utilized for another client. Another feature of DHCP is to reserve an IP address for special devices, such as servers, network printers, routers, and switches. You want to keep the IP address the same for these type of devices, and to do so, the network admin can configure reservations in the DHCP server by selecting designated IP address and inputting the MAC address for that specific device. When the DHCP sees the specific MAC address, it will issue the device that assigned IP address every time, which makes it sort of like a static IP address. This has been my presentation on DHCP. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you got to learn a little bit about DHCP. Thank you.